All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing this word in truth and sincerity. All right, this is the brother Tawab Brakah from GMS Los Angeles / Inland Empire. Come back with another video in the spirit. And once again, Tawadi Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai for opening my eyes to his truth, allowing me to wake up another day and putting the spirit on me to do another lesson in hopes to edify the hopeful elect. Okay, so this is going to be a real quick video for brothers, okay, and as well as you few sisters. What I want to go into is we got to be mindful when it comes to the drink. Okay, don't be a slave to the bottle. Okay, because the scriptures speak about, wine and strong drink, and those things have to be done in moderation, because, that drink can cause men to fall, stumble, and also just overall health, is bad. When drinking is done excessively, you put a lot of strain on your liver, your kidneys, okay, and just overall your overall health, and this is something we all got to be mindful of, being, knowing what we know, knowing this truth. There's days where, you may feel heavy, or you want to just cut loose and you want to have a drink. There's nothing wrong with that, But there's what's the word I'm looking for? Things have to be done in It has to be done in moderation. When you're drinking, they got a term called binge drinking. And binge drinking is basically, when you consume a lot of alcohol in one setting, one setting. Okay, and when you do that on a regular basis, that can, like I said, it can it could take a toll on your health in the long run. So I'm just putting this out there, for brothers out there that may be dealing with this, So I'm gonna bring out a few scriptures, and Lord willing, I pray this is edifying. All right, so the first scripture I'm gonna start with is Ecclesiasticus, which is the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus chapter 31, verse 27. It says, "Wine is as good as life to a man, if it be drunk moderately." You see that? Because wine is a good thing, Wine, when you especially when you with brothers, you congregating, and you sitting down, you having some drinks, is a beautiful thing, And like it says, it has to be drunk moderately. Okay, it shouldn't be, over indulging in the wine, because like I said, it could have a bad effect if it's done excessively. All right. It says, "What life is then to a man that is without wine? For it was made to make men glad." You see that? It was made to make us glad. Like I said, you might, it may be a day, you might get off work, you want to have a drink. There's nothing wrong with that. And especially, when you do it moderately, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, it says, wine measurably drunk and in season bringeth gladness of the heart. And what is the heart? The heart is the mind. Okay. And like it says, measurably. Okay. Because wine, even though wine is not considered a strong drink, but if you drink a lot of it, you drink, and we all got a limit. We all got a tolerance level, and you know your tolerance level, and um, that you're good. That's when you gotta be. That's when that the spirit gotta kick in and be like, I'm good. I'm a fall back. I'm good. I don't need any more. But when you go above that, especially when you do it, you know, excessively, like I said, it's gonna really start taking a toll on your body and your health, and we don't want that. Or it says, wine measurably drunk and in season bringeth gladness of the heart and cheerfulness of the mind. But wine drunketh with excess maketh bitterness of the mind with brawling and quarreling. You see, and you got a lot of our people when they go to these parties, they go to these clubs, and they sipping, they drinking. What happens shortly after? There's Jake gets to fighting, Jake gets into brawls. And in a lot of cases, a lot of these parties, clubs Jake be going there. After they get an altercation, Jake starts shooting the place up, and then you get casualties, all because of that drink, and that's the dangerous thing, about the drink, that's why it's called spirits, when you drink certain of these liquor or strong drink of wine, they have spirits, and we gotta respect it. We gotta respect the drink, because every night, or every day, we don't, wine is not necessary every night or every day, It's not necessary, Only, wine should, like I said, moderately, Every, you should drink wine basically, maybe a couple of times in a week, a couple of times is fine, but it shouldn't be every single day you drinking large portions of wine. That's going, like I said, it's going to hurt in the long run, because you got all these illnesses that stem from that. You could get cancer, cirrhosis of the liver, okay, kidney stones, that ain't no joke, so this is something we just gotta be mindful of, especially brothers that like to drink, All right, it says, drunkenness increaseth the rage of a fool till he offend. It diminisheth strength and maketh wounds. You see that? Because when, as they say, a sober man's thoughts, a drunk man's words is a sober man's thoughts, and that's what the drink do. The drink have someone offend with their tongue, and that's what, like I said, that's what leads to those fights, those brawlings, and that's not good, especially, us that's in the truth, that's gonna make the ministry look bad, Not saying brothers is doing that, but we don't want to find ourselves in a situation you know, where we out and about, or we go somewhere and we get toe up and we get in a brawl with some people, you know, and things can go left, you know, things can get real nasty, in a situation like that. So we gotta be mindful, especially when we out with brothers. If brothers is going out somewhere, brothers got be on point. Brothers gotta be each other's keeper. Make sure brothers don't go above they measure. When brothers are sipping, because it's very easy, for things to go left, man. So we just gotta be on point with that. All right. It says, rebuke not thy neighbor at the wine, and despise him not in his mirth. Give him no despiteful words, and press not upon him with urging him to drink. You see that? So when the brother's sipping, okay, and he's enjoying himself, let the brother be. Like, that's what it's basically saying. But also, if a brother's not in the spirit to drink, don't force drink upon that man. Okay? And that's something we gotta be mindful too as well. Don't be in that spirit of trying to force a brother, or try to egg a brother on and to drink when the brother's not, feeling it. The brother's not in the mood to sip. Okay. So I'm gonna get one more, because it's, like I said, just quick to the point. This is Proverbs chapter 31, verse 6. Okay, it says, give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Because what is the purpose? Like I just read in the Apocrypha, for the wine. The wine is to make man glad. Okay, it's to make the heart merry. Okay, because there's times where you're gonna hey man, we in hell, we in Babylon. So there's times where you may have one of those days where you're like, damn, I need a drink, and that's what it's for, but it shouldn't turn into a crutch, where you just that's how you deal with your grief all the time, is just drinking. That shouldn't be a habit. It should, there should be other outlets like brothers always go into. There's different ways to what's the word I'm looking for? It's other outlets to release that stress, like brothers always going to speak about exercising, okay, doing things that, being active, basically, not just, sitting on your ass all day. You got to move around. You got to do things. Keep yourself occupied, so to speak, when we not studying or watching the videos, or we not at work or whatever, There's different outlets, we can use besides just, sipping, to deal with our grief or situation here in Babylon, But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I just wanted to put that out there, for you brothers as well as you few sisters out there. Just be mindful. That's all. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna give all glory and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Hakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word, truth, sincerity. Shalom.